Today is Wednesday, February the 16th, 2022. I'm Captain Mooney. I want to bring to you just a couple words that I found very helpful. These words came from the Good Book. Psalms 37 and 32. The wicked watcheth the righteous and seeketh to slay him. So, once again, Psalms 37 and 32. The wicked watcheth the righteous and seeketh to slay him. I'm not a watcher, but there's other people that are. And when I refer to watcher, I'm referring to people that are stalking you and me. They are the wicked that watcheth, and they seeketh to slay him or her. And that's why I am the slayer. I will not be slain. There's only one slayer. There's only room for one slayer band, and there's only room for one female Homo sapien slayer. And the men are not allowed to slay women anymore. You never were. So all of the wicked that are watching me, that seeketh to slay me, you're going to have to just know this. The message is this: you are all going to die very slowly and painfully. That is the message of the day for this day, Wednesday, February the 16th, 2022. The time, approximately 22:22. The Psalm 37, the Psalm 32. The wicked watcheth the righteous and seeketh to slay him. However, I am the slayer, and you are all going to die very slowly and very painfully. And I just want you to know that, because when the time comes and you meet your Creator, just know this: if you believe I'm weird and harsh and macabre and mean and cruel and overly emotional and just too hot-tempered, the Creator, He's meaner than I could ever dream of being. I want to please God. I want to please the Creator of the universe. And I do that by not killing anyone. 444. I seriously please God by not killing anyone. That means I do my absolute best to not kill someone's spirit with my words. I do my absolute best to not kill someone's brain with a hammer. Like this one. This is not my favorite claw hammer, okay? Because this hammer is 13 ounces only. All right, so it's a very light hammer. I like to use it around the house, you know, but I have a better hammer. It's blue, and that hammer weighs, oh gosh, I don't know how much it weighs. It's been a while since I've held that one. It's double the weight. It's triple the weight of this. It's probably a 3-pound hammer. So I just wanted to share that with the world, you know. I also have a preference for here's another message. January 11th, 2022. This one was dated, and it states, "There is a God. Just go ask a bird." Y'all's truly, Captain So Young Owens Mooney. Bring blue whip. It's always a good idea for me to bring my blue whip. Let me get my other book. I got this from Amazon. The pages are blank. I fill them up. What do you fill them up with, Mommy? Mommy fills them with the truth. How about that tree of life? Isn't that beautiful? Wow. Monday, January 24th. Never mind. Thursday, January 27th, 2022. The 3 active volcanoes of China are located in the Chiang-Baishan area, Gingbo Lake, Wudalianchi, Tengchang, and Yushan. Tianqi volcano is of the highest risk. The 3 major hazards from Tianqi volcano are Plinian Falls, pyroclastic flows, and lahars. The time has come for all that have abused their power to just hydroplane. I write things down in this book and then I won't look at it because I'm like, tired from writing. I'm not going to look at it. And then I'll look at my book later and say, what was I writing about? I started doing this in the kitchen. Oh, wow. Wow. Thursday, January 20th, 2022. Thank you, God, for helping me and my family. Thank you, God, for not leaving me and my children behind. Thank you, God, for inspiring me to want to do my best efforts in all things and with compliance to the laws of the land upon which I am grateful to reside. Thank you, God, for teaching me how to enjoy a 3 to 5 minute freezing cold shower. More than ice cream. Please, God, ensure my life path is forever hard so that I shall have zero desire to be weak, to be lazy. Keep me working with multiple purposes to inspire every human I ever come into contact with to seek, work, and PTSD. And then I write upside down and then right side up, and I switch it around, so it's a little confusing when I go to review because it's just all over the place, you know. And I don't mind because it's just my thing. I've got a couple books. So that's that. I recommend everybody have a ledger that they keep for themselves. And then I put this little button there so I could close it. Amazon. Really enjoying it. Also doing yeah, that one's a surprise, huh? Look, it's my picture. Haha. Greek myths. When was the last time anybody discussed Homer's The Odyssey? When was the last time anybody talked about the river Styx? When was it? Well, I just want to let you know that this is Medusa. Do not look at her. The sight would turn you to stone. Greek Myths, a wonder book for girls and boys, written by Nathaniel Hawthorne. Oh my goodness. I very much appreciate Nathaniel Hawthorne. Here you go. There I am again. Yeah, I'll turn you to stone. Not your dick, though. I'll just break your... There you go. There you go. That is Bellerophon on Pegasus. Bellerophon on Pegasus. He's not riding very well. Pegasus is not pleased. Bellerophon, you suck. Moving on. Greek Myths, a wonder book for girls and boys. Nathaniel Hawthorne, illustrated by Walter Crane, Barnes & Noble, New York. The edition is 2015. We're going to start with the Gorgon's head. Looking from our table of contents in the beginning. Tanglewood porch. Introductory to the Gorgon's head. There are so many beautiful illustrations in this very reasonably priced classic that unfortunately people just don't get to hear of in schools. Never fear, have no worries. Public school is obsolete. Public school is officially for abuse. Wasting your time. I want to read the preface first before we start with anything, because most of you have not heard of these Greek myths. So it's important that you have a framework for what to understand. So, The author has long been of opinion, Nathaniel Hawthorne, that many of the classical myths were capable of being rendered into very capital reading for children. In the little volume here offered to the public, he has worked up half a dozen of them, with this end in view. A great freedom of treatment was necessary to his plan, but it will be observed by everyone who attempts to render these legends malleable in his intellectual furnace. Your intellectual furnace. Yes, that they are marvelously independent of all temporary modes and circumstances. They remain essentially the same, after changes that would affect the identity of almost anything else. He does not, therefore, plead guilty to sacrilege in having sometimes shaped anew, as his fancy dictated, the forms that had been hallowed by an antiquity of 2,000 or 3,000 years. No epoch of time can claim a copyright in these immortal fables. They seem never to have been made, and certainly so long as man exists, they can never perish. But by their indestructibility itself, they are legitimate subjects for every age to clothe with its own garniture of manners and sentiment, and to imbue with its own morality. In the present version, they may have lost much of their classical aspect, or at all events, the author has not been careful to preserve it, and have perhaps assumed a Gothic or Romantic guise. And that's the preface. Ooh, one more page. Continuing on with the preface. In performing this pleasant task, for it has been really a task fit for hot weather, and one of the most agreeable of a literary kind, which he ever undertook, the author has not always thought it necessary to write downward in order to meet the comprehension of children. So, you're going to have to have a vocabulary. You're going to have to teach your children how to speak words. No ebonics. Hooked on phonics. He has generally suffered the theme to soar, whenever such was its tendency, and when he himself was buoyant enough to follow without an effort. Children possess an unestimated sensibility to whatever is deep or high, in imagination or feeling, so long as it is simple. Likewise, it is only the artificial and the complex that bewilder them. Okay. And that's dated July 15th, 1851 by Lennox. Now we can begin. Introduction to the Gorgon's Head. It's beautiful. Beneath the porch of the country seat called Tanglewood, one fine autumnal morning was assembled a merry party of little folks, with a tall youth in the midst of them. They had planned a nutting expedition, and were impatiently waiting for the mist to roll up the hill slopes, and for the sun to pour the warmth of the Indian summer over the fields and pastures, and into the nooks of the many-colored woods. There was a prospect of as fine a day as ever gladdened the aspect of this beautiful and comfortable world. As yet, however, the morning mist filled up the whole length and breadth of the valley, above which, on a gently sloping eminence, the mansion stood. This body of white vapor extended to within less than 100 yards of the house. It completely hid everything beyond that distance, except a few ruddy or yellow treetops, which here and there emerged and were glorified by the early sunshine. As was likewise the broad surface of the mist. 4 or 5 miles off to the southward rose the summit of Monument Mountain, and seemed to be floating on a cloud. Some 15 miles farther away in the same direction appeared the loftier dome of Taconic, looking blue and indistinct, and hardly so substantial as the vapory sea that almost rolled it. The nearer hills, which bordered the valley, were half submerged and were specked with little cloud wreaths all the way to the tops. On the whole, there was so much cloud and so little solid earth that it had the effect of a vision. The children above mentioned, being as full of life as they could hold, kept overflowing from the porch of Tanglewood and scampering along the gravel walk or rushing across the dewy herbage of the lawn. I can hardly tell how many of these small people there were, not less than 9 or 10. However, no more than a dozen, of all sorts, sizes, and ages. Whether girls or boys, they were brothers, sisters, and cousins, and together with a few of their young acquaintances who had been invited by Mr. and Mrs. Pringle to spend some of this delightful weather with their own children at Tanglewood. I'm afraid to tell you their names, or even to give them any names, because to my certain knowledge, authors sometimes get themselves into great trouble by accidentally giving names of real persons to the characters in their books. For this reason, I mean to call them Primrose, Periwinkle, Sweet Fern, Dandelion, Blue Eye, Clover, Huckleberry, Cowslip, Squash Blossom, Milkweed, Plantain, and Buttercup. Although, to be sure, such titles might better suit a group of fairies than a company of earthly children. It is not to be supposed that these little folks were to be permitted by their careful fathers and mothers, uncles, aunts, or grandparents to stray abroad into the woods and fields without the guardianship of some particularly grave and elderly person. Oh, no, indeed! In the first sentence of my book, you will recollect that I spoke of a tall youth standing in the midst of the children, his name, and I shall let you know his real name because he considers it a great honor to have told the stories that are here to be printed. His name was Eustace Bright. He was a student at Williams College and had reached, I think, at this period, the venerable age of 18 years, so that he felt quite like a grandfather towards Periwinkle, Dandelion, Huckleberry, Squash Blossom, Milkweed, and the rest, who were only half or a third as venerable as he. A trouble in his eyesight, such as many students think it necessary to have nowadays in order to prove their diligence in the books, had kept him from college a week or two after the beginning of the term. But for my part, I have seldom met with a pair of eyes that looked as if they could see farther or better than those of Eustace Bright. The lone student was slender and rather pale, as all Yankee students are, but yet of a healthy aspect, and as light and active as like he had wings to his shoes. But by the by, being much addicted to wading through streamlets and across meadows, he had put on cowhide boots for the expedition. He wore a linen blouse, a cloth cap, and a pair of green spectacles, which he had assumed probably less for the preservation of his eyes than for the dignity that they imparted to his countenance. In either case, however, he might as well let them alone, for Huckleberry, a mischievous elf, crept behind Eustace as he sat on the steps of the porch, snatched the spectacles from his nose, and clapped them on her own, and as the student forgot to take them back, they fell off into the grass and lay there till the next spring. The end.